Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to another Ceros webinar. My name is Liana, and I'm the community coordinator here at Ceros. And joined with me, I have Alex and Sophie, also from Ceros, and Ron from HubSpot for Startups. We are very excited to dive into our fireside chat today. Just wanted to let everyone know that our Q&A is open, and please feel free to send any questions in the chat window, and we'll answer them all at the end. Otherwise, happy to pass it over to you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, Liana. I'm Alex Eberhardt, a senior customer success manager here at Ceros, and I work with the wonderful Ron, who is from HubSpot for Startups and has been using Ceros for a while now and is an awesome power user and advocate. So we'll be kind of covering a lot of great topics today, specifically some examples from Ron and his team, how to embed Ceros content into the HubSpot CMS, and some other great features with our integration. So with that being said, I will turn it over to Sophie to introduce herself, and then Ron.
Thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. Sophie Callan, partner manager. I manage the relationship between Ceros and HubSpot. Ron, I'll pass it off to you.
And my name is Ron Dawson, principal brand and content strategist for HubSpot for Startups. I basically tell stories of our customers and partners. I run our HubSpot for Startups blog. I executive produce all of the videos that we make. I do our social media channel, like our LinkedIn page for HubSpot for Startups. I'm like my own little tiny agency within the HubSpot for Startups team. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ron. We are so excited to have you. So we'll be covering a variety of questions. We're kind of diving into Ron's background. We're showcasing some content examples that he's created. Like I said, embedding content actually into the HubSpot CMS and showing how simple it is, and then our very own Ceros integration. So with that being said, I want to ask Ron a couple questions just to kind of kick off the conversation. So Ron, obviously you wear so many hats and you do so many great things with Ceros, but would love to hear just a couple of the main ways that you are currently utilizing Ceros.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the reasons I was actually first introduced to Ceros years ago when I worked at a company called Frame.io, and it's one of the leading platforms for video collaboration. They were bought up by Adobe a couple of years ago, and I was the senior content marketing manager over there. At the time, I really liked it. It wasn't in my budget at the time to get it. It was just, at the time, Frame.io was still kind of like a scrappy type of startup. I'm sure now that they're at Adobe, they can do a lot of different things that they couldn't do when I was there. But I had an opportunity when it came to HubSpot to use it again, and I was brought on to HubSpot Startups team in order to create content and make HubSpot for Startups a destination. For almost 10 years, it was really just a program where qualified startup founders could get a discount on HubSpot. And it was a pretty deep discount depending on how much seed and series funding you had gotten. And so, but it was pretty much just a landing page to get that discount. And they wanted to expand. And so I was brought on to expand it. And, my primary business objective is to make HubSpot for Startups one of the top three top of mind destination sites for startup founders looking for inspiration or education their business. And I knew I wanted to create content that could still be on brand for HubSpot, but would have what I like to call that, je ne sais quoi, that sort of like media, that rich media experience that when you came to it, you would know that this was a little bit different in terms of how the content was presented. So to that extent, I use it to some of the pages I create full page experiences. We'll see an example of that. Most of the ways I use it is to create really engaging above the fold header experiences like video headers or headers with animation, that kind of thing. And every now and then I use it, sort of like I pepper it in some posts, like if I just want like an animated image or something like that. And that's one of the things I like about it, is that it gives you a lot of flexibility on how you present your pages. And so the HubSpot CMS in and of itself is a very powerful platform. And so being able to use the best of both worlds is something that's been very helpful for me in the past couple of years that I've been using it.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And that's exactly why we wanted to have you on, is to show like HubSpot is does wonderful things. We use it personally at Ceros. And so how can you also incorporate interactive elements? So with that being said, it kind of segues into our next question here, which is, what are the main benefits that you found using in conjunction? You kind of alluded to that as well, as being able to make things a little bit interactive, being able to really enhance the CMS elements. But are there any other benefits that you found using Ceros?
I mean, really, that is the biggest, benefit for me. One of the reasons why I implemented it. And, we have some other team members in HubSpot outside of the startups organization who started using it. And, one particular manager comes to mind. She came to me. They had a particular budget in mind for this experience that they wanted to do, and they didn't. It was gonna be a lot more than they wanted to pay to get this type of thing. And then they saw something that I created, and they were like, "Oh, wow, I want to do that." And they reached out to me, and they said, "How much did they, how much did it cost, whatever?" And I said, "Well, this is part of the experience that we've been using for all of this." And it was something, they became another user of it. So the kind of work I've been doing internally has been starting to spread to other teams in HubSpot as they see the kind of experiences, that we've created. So that's, I think, so the primary benefit has been able to present a unique brand experience for our audience in a way that would be a lot more cost effective if we were to like pay a developer to do something similar.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I don't know if you have particular experience in this, but yeah, we've seen definitely paying a third-party agency or developer, obviously, for some of the stuff that you can do on your own does definitely get really costly. So with that being said, I think we have one more question for you before we're going to dive into some examples. So
Yeah.
how has this saved you either time, money, energy, any of those things that you could speak to?
Yeah. I mean, specifically, to be able to create the kinds of things, like for instance, uh one of the case study pages I worked on, I wanted to have a really cool animated image. And it was super easy to jump into Ceros, upload the static image to be the background, and then easily turn on one of the text animations. And like in less than a half hour, I had this really cool animated image that I could just drop in my that I could just drop in the case study that I was working on. So that's a really great example. It's like if you can dream it, whether it's something that's animated or whatnot, you can usually go into Ceros and create something on the fly even. You have templates you can work off, but if you know it well enough, you can create something off the fly. Like, oh, I really want to create something where, I have the logo flying in with video background and whatever it is, and have the text kind of like fade in, and then you can control how long it takes the text to fade in. You can control, when you scroll down, does it fade in again when you scroll back up, or do you want to always just stay there? Like all these little details that you can turn on or off to really dial in what it is that you want. And so I think that's something that's pretty big.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Ron, we're gonna take these sound bites and we're just gonna give them to our salespeople, and you're gonna be our new sales rep for
Yeah, be
Ceros.
my guest.
That's our whole pitch. But one thing I do want to emphasize what you said to our audience here is that at 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes, you can take some assets and you created a simple header and you embedded that into your website seamlessly. So that is awesome to hear. So with that being said, if we go ahead and go to the next slide here, want to share some examples and kind of turn over to you to showcase some of the things that you've created. We're going to showcase a full page experience and then a couple small landing pages. So this is one of the ones that you talked about, specifically talked about generative AI, and this was a full landing page.
Right. And actually, if you so I think this is actually the page that one of our APAC users use. Let me drop for you the page that I worked on, because I think I mean that page is cool too. So like this one you're seeing here is sort of like one where you have like a filtered menu, so to speak, and you wanted to have that. But let me here, I'm going to drop it. If I drop it in a chat to you, would that help?
Yeah, that would be great. And this is a perfect example too of how you can take content, like Ron said, and another team, the APAC team, took what he created and was able to really work off of his content. This was also using one of our Ceros templates as well. So it's a really great way to just take existing content that other teams have created or even our own templates here. So Leon, I don't know if you want to pull up
Oh, I just send it to you, Alex. You want me
oh,
to send it
perfect.
to Leanne? You
Yeah,
want to
I'll
give it to
send
Liana?
Liana. Yeah, Liana, if you don't mind pulling this example up here that I just put in the chat, that would be great so we could share this full page with everybody.
Yeah. So this is the page that I created. And so what we did is, so we actually had another thing that I've liked about Ceros is, there are a bunch of great templates that you get out of the box, so to speak. But, we also engaged your development team to do some customized stuff for us. And we had them create a customized case study template. And I started with that to create this. And so if you scroll back, so that part was to be separate now. So this part at the bottom, that is part of the HubSpot CMS. That's our basic form. That part is on HubSpot. But everything above that was something that I created in Ceros. So as you can see, as you scroll up, you see the really cool animations, you see it zooming in, you see how you can work with the text, and it's a combination of like a video background as well as animated text. And so, again, even if I hadn't started from a template, it wouldn't have taken me too long to create something like this. But, like if you wanted to design something like this, customized from the ground up, you'd be paying a lot of money and it would take weeks. And so it's really nice to be able to come out the gate, excuse me, with something that presented exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, this is an awesome piece. And the cool thing about these pieces, like you said, you can embed it directly onto your full landing pages. And we do have integrations in the back end too, just for everybody here with Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, Universal Analytics that you can set up and push events back to your own platform of choice. And you can also add an SEO properties as well to make sure that obviously it's reading and searching correctly. So this is such an
Right.
awesome page, and would love to kind of show the next one to talk about kind of some micro content elements.
Yeah, so this is our HubSpot stories page, HubSpot for Startup Stories. And so on our stories page, this is where think of this as like the homepage for all of the video and written case studies that we do. From that page, you can get to our customer stories, our partner stories. But a lot of the stories we created are these really cool videos. So I wanted to create a video header that could kind of highlight some of those. The one that you're seeing now is a clip from a series that we did. We did a film series called Spiraling Up, The Journey to Become a Unicorn. It's a 3-season series. First 2 seasons are online already. I can't say where season 2 is going to show up, but it's going to be pretty cool. I mean, season 3 is going to show up. It's going to be pretty cool. But one of these sort of like bonus episodes was this film about Rand Fishkin, who, if you're in digital marketing, you should know Rand. Rand, he was one of the co-founders of Moz. And one thing that's beautiful about Rand is that he's very authentic and open and vulnerable about, the mistakes he's made in business, the pros and the cons. So like how he goes about doing business now. His new business, Sparkturo, is something that is really taking off. And so we did this film where we followed him talking about his days at Moz, talking about sharing some of the stuff that only recently he's ever shared publicly. So we had this really cool film about that, and called The Big Cheat Code. And so you can get to that film from this. And so this video header is kind of like based on, just clips from that film episode.
Nice. I love this one. And like I said, perfect example of just wanting to jazz up a landing page. And this is a simple way to do it. So let's go ahead and go to the next one too, to talk about that.
Yeah. So keep scrolling. I think this is the one of the ones that has that right there. So this is that sort of like animated image I talked about. That one that where I wanted to have, it was a quote. Basically, it's like a quote image. And I wanted to have the quote kind of like right there. I want to have those images kind of fly in or appear in. And, all I did was I had the static image of that guy standing in the background. I added that, reduced the opacity, added the quote from the text itself, and then, was able to animate the words for that quote. So again, it's something like when you're reading it, you don't even necessarily think of it. It just adds that little extra touch that you don't normally see with just a regular static image. And again, took a relatively short amount of time to do in Ceros.
No, I
And
love
then
these.
once you have something like that, save it as a template. So if you ever want to do it again, it's even faster. You can do it in 5 minutes as opposed to like maybe that first one may have taken me 20 minutes or so to do. But that's the other thing that's nice.
No, that's great. Thanks so much, Ron. These are like such great examples. And like you said, you can create full landing pages or even that micro content elements. A lot of our clients were starting to see really incorporating micro content elements. So like this great image here, carousels, anything that's got a lot of text heavy content. You can also just kind of condense it down just to get a user to pause and check out more of that page. So with that being said, would love for you kind of just to talk through the process of now that you've created a piece in Ceros, how to actually embed that onto your page in the back end of HubSpot.
Yeah. And so this animated GIF is showing you exactly what it was. The experience was created. Copy the HTML code from the Ceros experience. You can see how easy it is in the HubSpot CMS to actually, drag and drop a web image onto the page itself, like a block onto the page itself. In that particular case, it was an HTML block. I dragged it to the spot here. You can see I'm dragging it to the spot on the page where I want it. And then once you dragged it into the spot right there, I just paste the HTML code and then boom, I have a full page. Or if it's not a full page, if it's just an image, like whatever it is that you're embedding, that's how easy it is to embed. And one of the things, and there's two ways in which you can embed HTML in HubSpot. You can go off to the side like this GIF is showing where you embed something in a major section of the page. But even within, like for instance, the HubSpot CMS, the HubSpot rich text block that you would use to type regular text, within that text block, you can have different formatting features. You can embed videos, and there's a function to embed HTML. So that's another place where you can embed HTML. So that might be an example of how I would embed that animated image that we saw in the last slide, where I want just an image with, excuse me, within a block of text, as opposed to like an entire page, or maybe something in between, or maybe there's an experience. Like one of the things you can do with Ceros is create like these cool calculators and all these cool doohickeys. That's the official term. That can do all the things in the background, and maybe you want something like that that's on a page, and so you might drop in one of those HTML blocks in between two other maybe a text block and another text block, and then have an HTML block in between those, and that's where you put like your calculator or something like that. So if you're used to embedding YouTube videos, it's the same thing. You copy and embed it wherever you want to embed it. If you can embed a YouTube video, you can embed Ceros.
Nice. That's super helpful. And like you said, it's very, very simple. And you did allude to the software development kit. So if you ever want to create a quiz or calculator or something like that, you can use our software development kit, which allows you to add additional coding and functionality to your Ceros content.
Right.
So with that being said, would love to go ahead and turn it over to Sophie to talk about our specific integration. So Ceros does have an integration directly with Ceros, and would love for Sophie to talk about that.
Yes, thank you, Alex and Ron, for letting me join today. Love those examples. That was so cool to see. I'm really excited I got to see that. But like Alex said, I wanted to take the opportunity today to join this webinar and share a little bit about the ways that Ceros can integrate with HubSpot, the way that we currently work together. So those who are not familiar, Ceros and HubSpot integration currently allows users to access their HubSpot forms directly within the Ceros Studio. So this makes it really easy for users to grab their forms, integrate them into their Ceros content, and then style and deploy them in whatever way they need. And I am just going to jump in and share my screen here and just walk you through the process of how to get started with the integration, what it will actually take to get the forms onto the canvas, and then I can talk about a couple of use cases. But just to confirm, you guys can all see my Ceros admin, right? Looks good. Okay, so before you get started with setting up your Ceros and HubSpot integration, the first thing you need to do is tell your account manager that you want access to it. Your Ceros AM will then set up the integration, and once that's been enabled, you can come over to the Settings tab and then Integrations, and scroll down until you find HubSpot. So I've already enabled this for my account, but if you wanted to get started, all you would need to do is just toggle this on, sign into your HubSpot account, and you're good to go. There may be some users here who have multiple HubSpot accounts, and that's totally fine. What we'd recommend doing is sign up on the account level, so this main integrations page with the default account that you want to use. And then you can always go into your specific projects and you can set up an experience level integration super easily just by navigating to Manage, Integrations, scrolling back down to HubSpot, and then just clicking that gear on icon to change your account. So now that we've set up the integration, I won't change anything for the purposes of this. I want to show you an example of how we can actually embed a form into Ceros. It's great because we just saw Ceros sitting in HubSpot, and now we'll see HubSpot sitting in Ceros. So kind of the inverse of what Ron just went through. But this is just a landing page that we create for folks who are interested in signing up for our Ceros pilot program. For the purposes of the demo, let's pretend that we want users to sign up for the pilot using a HubSpot form that will live in a pop-up box as soon as we click sign up for the pilot. So the first step to setting this up would actually be building the pop-up unit where the form is going to sit. And I went ahead and did that earlier today. I just made this little blue kind of purple box down here. And the behavior that we should expect is that when a user clicks sign up for pilot, they should be scrolled right down into the box where they'll fill out the form, submit their information, and then they can get access to the pilot. I did also include a close button on this pop-up because I didn't want to force users to submit their information. Maybe if they want to learn a little bit more and come back and fill out the form, they can feel free to do that. So once we've got the form kind of house set up, all we have to do is come down to our integrations menu, which is this little puzzle piece icon. If you have several integrations, you'll get a full menu, but for today, we're just looking at HubSpot. When I click HubSpot, you now have access to all of your HubSpot forms directly in Ceros, which is super helpful. All we need to do is just look for the form that makes the most sense, drag it into our little pop-up box. That looks about centered to me. We'll make sure that it's in our actual pop-up. And our last step here is just to add an integration to the pop-up form itself. So the way you will go about doing that is just by selecting the form, navigating to interact, and you'll see that we now have a new type of interaction, which is an on trigger submit interaction. So for this example, we want to set up a trigger that when the user submits their information, we're just going to close this entire pop-up because they've done what they need to do and they don't need to see that anymore. So to do that, we'll just select submit, scroll down to hide, and select our form fill pop-up. So you can see here that there is a lot of flexibility in the way that you want to set up this interaction. Many folks will, rather than hide a pop-up, actually show a pop-up that maybe says something like, thank you for submitting your information. Here are the next steps. You can also go to an external URL. And something that I think is really cool is the idea of lead segmentation, where users will create maybe 3 different pop-up forms, each about a specific topic. And then when the user inputs their information, that's actually placed into separate buckets where they're now going to be part of a topic-specific nurture campaign. So we've got this set up. Let me save the interaction. Looks good. And I will just close out this form. And then moment of truth. Let's look at our preview link here. So it looks good so far. And when I click sign up for the pilot, we've got our form. For the sake of data hygiene, I won't fill this out, but you can see that all I need to do is just pop in my information and it's ready to go. So again, just to show you what that looks like. And, I just want to add that really the main benefit of using this integration is, again, to be able to access that interaction This is something that wouldn't be available if you were just going to embed the embed code, just like Ron did with the Ceros embed code. So using the interaction will again open up all of those on submit possibilities and kind of let you customize the experience in whatever way you need to. So that kind of just concludes my little demo of the HubSpot integration. I hope that you all will try this, and please let us know if you have any feedback and how the process goes, because we're always looking to improve and continue to build upon these integrations.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm jealous, Sophie.
You didn't
I
have
was, yeah, because I was sharing with Alex, because HubSpot is so, we take security very seriously. So you have to, it's above my pay grade to be able to incorporate HubSpot forms into any system outside of HubSpot, because obviously our data is our customers' data. And so you have to be at a certain level to be able to use. So like I can't use, I mean, I use Wistia a lot, so I can't use any of the ability to embed, HubSpot into Wistia. Maybe after a few more years, I'll be able to turn that, I'll be able to get that ability. But yeah, if if you are at a smaller company or you're not at a public company where that's not an issue, being able to embed HubSpot and integrate it directly into Ceros is pretty cool. So I would take advantage of it if I could.
We'll have to find the right person for you to talk to
I
about that.
know.
But yeah,
Yeah.
you saves
Get
a ton.
Yamini on the phone. Yamini, I need to talk to you.
Perfect.
Yamini's our CEO, for those who don't know.
No, someone get Ron a better security clearance.
That's right.
But one thing too on that, obviously, since it is a HubSpot form, we do not track the form fills on our end. So just one layer of protection there. We cannot see obviously that data. That would obviously go back to your HubSpot account. So thanks so much, Ovi, for sharing
Good call
this.
out.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing this. And same thing with other forms too. You can embed other forms as well, but our integration is really helpful because it allows you to gate content and just drag and drop it in. Another really cool opportunity too for sales, I use this all the time myself, is you can also embed a HubSpot meeting link directly into Ceros. So I do this all the time with my clients. Ron, you might have set up a meeting with me using my link, but basically you can go to the meeting scheduler, set up a meeting or meeting with your colleagues, and simply go to the embed option and then just drag and drop that into an embed code in the actual Ceros experience. So there's a draw embed box option in Ceros, and you just drop in that embed code. So if you go to the next slide here, you can see this is an example of like a widget that I've put at the bottom of like my one-sheeter sales decks. So it says my name. You can select a time and date that you would like to meet with me. So Liana, if you would like to chit chat, please schedule yourself some time. And it's as easy as that. But it really allows you to, instead of just sending off a link, you can actually send a one-sheeter that has Ceros content in it and include your meeting link. So it allows additional information. So that's a really cool use case as well for sales, one-on-ones, anything like that is really honing into that HubSpot meeting link option too. Awesome. And before we get into the Q&A, just want to see, Ron, if you have any final thoughts and advice for people who are starting to get into Ceros and also use a HubSpot CMS.
Yeah, I mean, a few things. One, on the HubSpot CMS side, I've used all kinds of CMSs. I've used, WordPress, Webflow. If there's a CMS for it, I've probably used it at some point. And I'm not just saying that because I work at HubSpot. HubSpot is one of the easiest ones I've used, and it does so much. And so if you haven't already tried it out, definitely worth checking it out. I'm pretty sure the free version comes with CMS. Don't quote me on that. You might want to double check it, but the HubSpot CMS is so easy to use. So I really appreciate that. And then, on the Ceros side, one thing I would say is, Ceros is designed in such a way, and you have I know there's like the editor feature for people who may not necessarily have the usual design prowess of someone who's in it every day, the ability to be able to go in there, like take a template and make tweak changes like color and text without messing up the foundation. But if you are someone who's a little bit more adept at design, let's say you're really familiar with like Adobe Photoshop type tools, you'll be right at home using something with Ceros. It may, like, if you've never used anything, just like anything else, it could be a little overwhelming. But if you have any type of traditional design tool background, you'll feel right at home, like using the dashboard, things like that. Some of the things I always give tips to be mindful of is the order of the layers on the site, because depending where they are, clicking on something, you may think you're clicking on like just a text, but maybe you're clicking on a whole group of text. So be mindful of things like that. Be mindful of the responsiveness layers at which you're designing something. So, one of the things when you're designing experiences like this is you kind of have the design for the desktop experience and for the mobile experience. So when you're designing for a mobile experience or so like an iPad type experience, keeping that in mind, I always like to get everything to like 95% where I want it on the desktop experience before creating and taking it down to the mobile experience that I'm going to create. I love the fact that the text flows. So like if you have text at the desktop experience, anything you do on the desktop experience, it'll flow through to the mobile experience. It's not the same for images. Images and stuff like that, for obvious reasons, you need to actually tweak. But things like the text size and color you can tweak, but the actual words themselves, will flow through. But if for whatever reason you want to change it, I like the fact that you can unlink the text so that if you have, maybe you want only 5 words at the mobile experience and you have 50 words at the desktop experience, you could disconnect it. So I like that aspect of it too. So just being mindful of that. And as you use it, there are all these other little things you start to think about. So another tip that I always give, whenever you're creating experience, another thing I like about Ceros is that when you make changes in the experience, it'll flow through to the website, which is great. However, if you change anything that impacts like the length or the length of the experience, you'll have to re-embed it. So as long as you're not changing anything that changes like the length of the experience or the resolution of the experience, you're good to go. You change the words, you change the graphics, everything will flow through. But if you were to change the pixel depth or resolution or anything like that, you're going to have to re-embed it. That's one thing. Little tips like that, you'll figure it out. Nothing major, but yeah, all in all, once you get used to it, you'll be able to work in and out pretty quickly.
Thanks, Ron. That's super, super helpful. And same thing too, for those who are non-designers, this is a subtle, not so subtle plug here. We do have an awesome new tool called Editor. If you've not used it, it allows you to make really quick text images or changes to text to images, things like that. If you're not a designer, but you can use the content that your designers have created or our templates just to get in there at a level that's more appropriate maybe for yourself if you're not a true designer. So just a subtle plug. If you don't know what our editor tool is, ask your customer success manager and we'll give you more information. But thank you so much, Ron. That was some really great advice. And I know a couple people had some questions, so we'll go ahead and turn it over to Liana to kind of manage the Q&A.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for walking through this presentation. I loved seeing those examples, Ron, and that advice you just gave was super, super helpful. And like Alex said, we use HubSpot. We love HubSpot, and it's so seamless between Ceros and HubSpot. So that was awesome. Danielle in the chat said, thank you so much for these. I've been doing it wrong, and that's why I get conflicts on overlapping content when combining Ceros and HubSpot. So you solved it all. So love that so much.
Oh, glad to hear that.
This will also be in a recording, and we'll shorten up those 2 different integration workflows. That way, if you ever need to refer back to that, you'll have it. So no more overlapping content there. But we do have one question so far here in the chat, and this is, are there any other client examples maybe from HubSpot, or if there are any client examples that do use both HubSpot and Ceros?
When they say client examples, like other examples of how we've used it, or?
Yeah, we can send over, obviously with Ron's permission, a couple other examples that Ron's created, but we'll also send some other examples of other clients who use HubSpot CMS, so you guys can see how that kind of looks. And even also examples as a follow-up of even like micro content just embedded into websites. So we can send that afterwards as a great follow-up. But yes, if you have not checked out Ceros Inspire, it has all of our client examples and templates, and you can also filter by micro content pieces, which was a big part of our conversation today.
Yeah, and if you want to see, here's another full page experience we did, one of our stories. I just dropped that to you all if you want to share with them. What's nice about this one shows sort of like a non-moving background. Yeah. An anchored background, which is cool. So this gives you a little bit different idea. And then right there, we stop right there. That's an embedded. So that's an embedded Wistia video. So within Ceros, I took a Wistia video, embedded that in Ceros, and then the thing that's embedded in the CMS is the whole Ceros thing. So it's like you can have, it's sort of like Inception. You can have embeds within embeds, which is kind of cool. And so what I like about this page is, again, it really shows a lot of the different aspects of the animation, uses of video, uses of photos. And again, this is one entire page built in Ceros experiences. And, something like this takes a little bit longer than a half hour. And I actually created this page before. So now Ceros has the feature, like within a text block, you can have different formatting. Whereas for a while you didn't have that. So I'm glad you finally added that. So like, for instance, I want to have an H2 tag for the header and then have the block underneath that just be regular, normal. And I wasn't able to do that when I made this page, but now I'm able to do that, which is great. So if everyone to make this page again, it would be a lot faster. But like immediately you come to a page like this and you get the idea of, wow, this is really a cool experience. This is something that is kind of like takes what a person might normally see on our website to a whole different level. It still has the HubSpot branding, the colors, the images and stuff like that. But, a good example is we just recently came out with HubSpot Spotlight, HubSpot as a company. So if you go to the hubspot.com/spotlight, look at that page. Most HubSpot pages don't look like that. And they did that for a reason, because they wanted to have that cool animation that you see in HubSpot Spotlight. Now, obviously, that was custom. That was not Ceros. That was custom. But I use them as an example because HubSpot Spotlight shows you how HubSpot, from now and then, as a company, will create these kind of rich experiences. So that's something that I wanted to do at my little tiny corner of HubSpot that would not have the budget to do. Like if you look at HubSpot Spotlight, I would not have the budget to make something like that. But I can probably get pretty darn close to what they have on that using Ceros. And so that's one of the things I like. So I was able to, this is like one of the first pages I created in Ceros. And again, this was based on a template that you guys had made for us. And then I just based it off that template. And so, yeah, just the ability to really create things that kind of stand out has been good. And one of the things you always want to think about is that I think about is the experience, but also the business objectives. So there are some pages where I would not do something like this with Ceros, because the objective maybe be signing up for form quickly. I want the page load as quickly as possible. So maybe at most, if I do use Ceros, it'd just be for an image or something. A page like this takes a little bit longer, but it's worth it for the ultimate experience. And this is something you're going to be reading for a while. This is like a 3,000+ word case study, or it's a whatever profile. And so there are examples like that where you really need to think about how you're going to use Ceros. It's a tool like anything else. And you got to think about what's the business objective of the page that you're creating. And it is Ceros. What's the best use of Ceros for that particular business objective? Is the whole page good? Or is it just like a peppered image here and there?
Definitely. And someone also had a question here. In this example, is the top menu also done in Ceros, or was this HubSpot content?
No, that's a good question. So that's HubSpot content. So that is part of our website, the HubSpot for Startups website. And so that is something, funny enough, that's also something I don't have the control to change. And so like whenever I want to change our menu, I have to submit a ticket, whatever. For those of you on the outside, it's a great thing because that shows you how serious HubSpot is about security. For those of us on the inside, sometimes it's a pain because that means it takes longer to get things changed. But obviously our customers take priority when it comes to things like that. But yeah, that is now, but you could probably do something similar to that. I've never used drop-down menus in Ceros, but I would guess you could do something like that in Ceros if you wanted to create something like that on your own.
Yes, you definitely can. And I'll drop in the thing. You can create really cool interactive menu bars, and you can also sync menu bars across multiple pages experiences too. So
Oh, cool.
I'll send over a quick tutorial on that in the chat.
Awesome. And it looks like Simone actually sent an example that they created. It's a quiz that they built in Ceros and embedded in their HubSpot CMS, which is super cool. So I'll get that pulled up. But while I'm getting that pulled up, there was another question here that is, do we have any or advice maybe about how to design these HubSpot forms? And will the form have the same design in HubSpot when you bring it into Ceros?
I can add some color on that. So you're going to design the form in HubSpot, and there are various features within HubSpot that you can use. Ron might even have some extra information on that. But there is another custom CSS box within the Ceros Studio. So once you do add your form, you can just open up the custom CSS and make any sort of tweaks or arrangements that you need to that code. And I believe we can send over an educate article on that as well.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different forms you can do in HubSpot. So yeah, this is a nice experience. I like it.
Awesome. Yeah, this experience is looking super, super good. Cool. And then there was another question here specifically about UTM tracking for using HubSpot and that integration with Ceros.
Yes, I know, Simone, you had a specific question on that. I can definitely follow up on you because I don't want to misspeak about tracking, but obviously if you embed a form directly into Ceros, all of that information will go back to HubSpot. So like I said, we can't track that, but all the settings in the back end should remain the same as you set it up in HubSpot. But we will definitely, if you have specific questions or you want someone to walk through it, we can set up with your customer success manager and our support team, like more detailed information, just so you're making sure that you're getting all the analytics that you need back to your systems.
Awesome. And here's another example from Daniela. It's a landing page made on our Ceros embedded. It's a landing page made in Ceros and then embedded also on HubSpot CMS. So
Oh,
I love
cool.
so many
Nice.
people are sharing their experiences using HubSpot
Yeah.
and together. This is another really, really great one that looks awesome.
Yeah, send me those. I'll like check those out when I have time. I like that.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll share any of these in the follow-up link. And on our webinar page for this webinar, we will post the recording. We'll also post all of these links. And if anyone else has any examples that they'd like to share, definitely feel free to post them there, as well as any questions. And Ron, Alex, Sophie, and I can follow up with those answers there as well. That way, if anyone has those similar questions, they can see the answers too. But thank you guys so much again for joining our webinar today. A big thank you to Ron for joining us here at Ceros. Super informational. I loved everything that you're creating so far. Excited what
Thank
you are
you.
going to create in the future. And again, we'll send a follow-up of this recording afterwards, but I hope everyone has a great rest of your Thursdays, and we hope to see you at our next webinar.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Ron. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, Liana.